Good evening, and I hope that everyone has enjoyed the meal. Let's everyone give a Southern Experience a big round of applause for the wonderful meal tonight. Remember them for any of your catering needs. At this time, we will begin with our 21st annual Macon County Sports Hall of Fame induction banquet. Before we start with our inductees, we are going to recognize the Macon County High School girls basketball teams from 2021, 1920. These girls have had a lot of accomplishments, and we are very proud of them here in Macon County and everything they did while they were in high school, and several of them have great accomplishments after high school. But at this time, I will introduce Coach Larry White. He's going to say a few words and then introduce the basketball team. Coach White.
Thank you, Tony. First off, to the directors, we want to thank you for allowing us or allowing you to honor our two teams that one of them we call ourselves co-state champion, and the other one we were a true state champion. This kind of goes back. I'm going to give you I'm going to do this rather quickly because I know I've been to these events before. I don't want them to drag out, but I call it 5 years of glory that we had here at Macon County High School, and all of these girls that were on these two teams were part of this 5-year history. There are two of them, two people that I really want to say something about that didn't win a state championship, but were so big a part of us getting to be what we were, and one of them is Jenna Russell, and the other one is Kendall Bullington. Two of the greatest leaders of young ladies I've ever coached. And Jenna Russell, she got the ultimate compliment when Seth Carlisle said, "Coach White, I don't want her to ever guard me." She was a great on-the-ball defender. I call it 5 years of glory for the Macon County High Tigerettes. For a period of 5 years, we went 143-30. In that time, we appeared in the state tournament five consecutive times. We won 5 sub-state championships, or sectionals that a lot of teams like to call. We won 2 of those at McMahon Central. The first time that we went to McMahon Central, Keeley's group, KK, Jamie, their particular group, there was 18 of us involved, managers, coaches. There were only 18 people, in my personal opinion, that thought we had a chance to win when we got down there. And here's what we went against. They had won 60 consecutive games at home. They had never lost a sub-state at home. But we get a video on them, and the first thing I noticed, man, they're pressing all the time. And if you guys ever come and watch us play, we had great guards. That night, we scored 28 points against their press, and we won convincingly by 12 or 14 points. And that's what was really the turning point. Julie took a picture of us that she sent to me that she thinks, Miss Julie Collins, by the way, that she thinks was the turning point for basketball when I got here. We're playing Livingston Academy on our floor, and we beat them. And that's the first time that a Macon County High team had ever beaten Livingston Academy. We had another earlier thing that happened. We won also at Jackson County, and I'm just telling you what people have told me. We hadn't won there before either. So we were doing some good things. In that time, we had 3 region champions, 2 district tournament champions. We won the Nero White Invitational Tournament 4 times. We won the Sonic Shootout, which may be the championship game. We played White County on their floor. They were undefeated. Most people thought they were the best team in the state, period. The score at halftime was 57-22, us. might be the most complete half I've ever had a team to play in my entire life. I called one offense when we were on the floor, and they just did the rest of it. We couldn't miss. It was just unbelievable. We made 23s that night. It was unbelievable. And the final score was 85-48. And I made a note. This is my book you always see me with on the bench. I made a note that night. I subbed with 6 minutes to go in the game, so everybody got to play. It could have been a lot worse, but it was we played great that night. In 17 and 18, we went to the Nike Tournament Champions in Phoenix, Arizona, which was a great experience for all these young ladies. I think they'll tell you that. It was me too. It was just an unbelievable place, and the way they did things. The only thing that was not really good about it was kind of like going to camp, because there's 3 games going at the same time in a recreation center. We won the first 2, and then we lost the last 2, but we did great. We've been fortunate. We have had during all this time, we've had a Miss Basketball in Keely Carter in 1920, and then in 2021, we had another finalist in Jalen Gregory for Miss Basketball. These 2 young ladies, Keely made All-State all 4 years she was in school. I believe Jalen did 3, I think I'm right. If it's 4, that's good. And we also had Abby Shoulders, who made All-State during that time. When I coached at the other place I coached before, I always told anybody, if I had one Division I player, there'd be no way that we would not win the state championship. Well, we had 2, and Abby plays Division I softball now. So athletically wise, we were really good. Keely and Jalen both have excelled past Macon County High School. Keely was voted the top athlete at Trevecca University this year, which is quite an honor there. She has just got a new coach, and I hope to God they find some players to play with her, because she has not had much to play with since she's been there. And let's hope that they do that. Jalen, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. She's got all kinds of players to play with, and she has been phenomenal. She made the all-freshman team. If there had been a MVP freshman, if she hadn't been, I'd have shot somebody, because she was by far and away. And I want to say something to all you people that are here. We've always had so much support at this school. Since the beginning of time, even before Gary Carter. Macon County has always done a great job of supporting their high school kids. I mean, it's been unbelievable. We went to Western, Middle Tennessee and Western played that day. I counted 51 people that day from Macon County, and they didn't come to watch Western play either. They came to watch Jalen play. She got 30, she did okay, but we lost the game. Anyway, those 5 years have just been and were unbelievable. If you will notice to your left over here, you will see a sign back there. We have 4 of those, and they will be going on Highway 10. They will be going on Highway 52. They will be going on, and also right out here on 52 and on Scottsville Road. All 4 entrances into town, thanks to Mr. Bowles and the Board of Education. When a car goes by, your lights will show up at night. It has that we were state champions and runner-up, and we thought, I mean, nobody wants to be a runner-up, take it from us. And we don't really want to start talking about that game either, because we got took. We have where we were runner-up 3 times. Those are on there. Coach Jeff Beam and his 2 teams are on there also. That is on the front and back both. Championship trophies have done an outstanding job. And the most important thing is that gold ball that I brought tonight that is sitting back there. If you would like to have your picture made with it, you are welcome to do that. The day before each time we went to the state tournament, the banks asked us to bring our teams there. They give us money to feed them on and all this kind of stuff. And Rick Clark made the statement. He said, when you win that gold ball, we want to be the first one to get to put it out where everybody can see it, and want to set it right here in the middle of the bank. Well, on that next Monday, we got to do that. As a team, we went up there and took it. Then it went to Macon Bank. The best story is it went to Subway. And of course, Mike Whittemore, my closest thing to a brother I got, my first cousin, and Ian and Larkin own them. And the one here in Lafayette, Ian told me, I said, Ian, did many people, what about the gold ball? He said, I kept count. When he got to 500, I quit. He said, I wasn't going to keep up with how many people had a picture made with it anymore after that. So, the only other state champion she's here, is Belle and the golf team. And we, our team, I would like now, we're going to ask you young ladies who are on those teams that are present to please come. And also Coach Kaylin Thompson, who is here, we'd like to ask all of you to please come out here and stand in front, and we'll introduce each one of them. Don't block the camera. You know, you can't, I got to step, yeah, I got to see me. What you doing, dude? All right, I think they're in the correct order even. Okay, the 1920 team that went 33-1. No, 1920. They went 33-1, and we were by far the best team in the state, and they made us quit playing. That was one of the saddest days that I've ever had when we had to leave over there. But I really thought we'd get to go back in 3 weeks, but that didn't happen. On that team, the catalyst right here, first off we have is our manager, Allie Morgan, who was on both of these teams. But then we have Miss Keely Carter, then we have McKaylee Mix, and we have Jamie Ashburn, and then we have the brains of the Ashburn family, Emily, with us here. Then we have Taylor Ward, then we have Jalen Gregory, and then we have Abby Shoulders, and we have Cadence Carter, and we have Cadence Waldron, and then we have the greatest assistant in the history of the game, Miss Kaylin Thompson. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing like all of our players are here by no stretch of the imagination. Especially Saranda Woodson. I thought sure she would be here because she was such an integral part of us winning the state championship. She led the state in charges drawn with 28, which is pretty good. But all this group right here, they're the ones who are 143-30. And now I know everybody's sitting back there, yeah, you big dummy, you were 3-26 last year. That is true. But we did not forget the coach. We started 5 freshmen. And the one best thing, and we'll get out of here, the one best thing that happened to us, I think, they came to me before the state championship game. And they said, Coach, when it comes time due to COVID, only one player can come and accept the trophy. I said, you big dummy, I got 5 seniors. I'm not going through that controversy. He said, you pick them. And this guy walks off. So I went over and sat down, and I thought, God, how are we going to do this? So I went to Caitlin and Tara Pryor, our other assistant. By the way, she's not here. I said, I'm going to let Allie go get the trophy. And they looked at me and they said, I think that's a great idea. Allie is our manager, by the way, miss everything. So I go to her, and she looks at me and starts crying and says, you don't really mean that. And I said, you're going to go get that trophy. And I've had more people say something about that, and it worked to a T because she did a great job with it. Thank y'all all for honoring us. We're glad to be here, and most of all, we're really proud of that gold ball back there. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you, Coach White. Thank you, ladies, for being here tonight, and thank you for the hard work and dedication that you put in to make Macon County girls basketball what it is today. I'll give you just a little bit of how we're going to do this induction ceremony. We have a DVD that we'll be showing, and BJ, you're going to get the lights for us where you all can see it. Our wireless microphone is not working at this time, so we won't be able to hear it as well on these little speakers. But if everyone will listen closely, hopefully you can hear what Barry Hyatt is doing the voiceover on this. After that is completed, I will come back up here, and then I will introduce the person who's going to introduce the inductee into the Sports Hall of Fame. So at this time, we will begin our ceremony.
Basketball for Red Bull and Kids High School between 1968 and 1971. She started all 4 years. She was named to the All-Mid-State Honorable Mention Team in 1969 and played on the 1969 RDS State Tournament team. Jane was named the most valuable player of the Red Bull and Kids Christmas Tournament in both 1969 and 1970. She was named to the All-District team in 1970 and 71, and was named to the All-Region team in 1971. She was named to the All-State Honorable Mention team in both 1970 and 71. Jane ranked second all-time in scoring at Red Boiling Springs with 1,575 career points. Jane also played college basketball for Tennessee Tech in 1971 and 1972. She was inducted to the Red Boiling Springs Hall of Fame in 2009. K-State then calls Rome, Georgia home. Jane Biles, a 2022 inductee to the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame.
And at this time, I have the pleasure of introducing Miss Jane Biles. The last name says it all, especially when you're talking about Red Bull Springs basketball. Jane was a star the minute she walked onto the court at Red Bull Springs. She was a 4-year starter in the forward position, and of course that was back in the days when you played 6-on-6 half court. Her brother Charles Biles, who is also a member of the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame, was her coach in junior high and high school. Her father, Mr. Poe Biles, was a coach of opposing teams, where he coached at Enon Consolidated School and Willette Consolidated School. Miss Jane was on the first team to go to the state tournament. I grew up watching Jane play basketball. I was in elementary school when she was in high school, so we won't go there. But I did. I grew up watching Miss Jane. Looking back at the pictures that she submitted to the Hall of Fame, took me back. She was asking where they were, and I said, they're in my office. I've been sitting back looking at them, reminiscing, taking myself back. But I did. I grew up watching her play at Red Bull Springs. Even went to watch her play one time at the old Memorial Gym at TTU. My dad and mom wanted us to go up there and watch her play. Like I said, she was a member of the first Macon County team to make it to the state tournament. Miss Jane first established the 5th and 6th grade basketball program at Red Boiling Springs. She named them the Baby Bulldogs, which they are still called today. During her career at Red Boiling Springs, her junior and senior year, Jane averaged 32 and 27 points a game. Now that's quite impressive if you ever watched 6-on-6 basketball. But she was a scorer, and she contributed to those teams. She was also played with Miss Carolyn Blankenship, who is also a member of the Sports Hall of Fame. I think Jane was a freshman maybe when they were juniors or seniors. I've had the pleasure of watching Jane play basketball when I was a student at Red Boiling Springs. She started her career at Red Boiling Springs when I was in high school. She's got a story to tell about me that she probably, if she remembers, locked somebody up in the closet. Then when I started my career at teaching at Red Boiling Springs, Miss Jane was there as a teacher. But most importantly, I can call her a friend. So Jane Biles, welcome to the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh, thank you so much. Beautiful. I have to put my glasses on too.
And then there's your feet.
Thank you, thank you.
Microphone is yours.
Thank you, Tony. He did a good job, didn't he? And I wasn't going to mention the locking the other person up in the closet. I had actually forgotten about it until he just now reminded me. First of all, I want to say congratulations to all the other inductees. Well deserved, well deserved. I want to thank the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame Committee for this wonderful honor. Thank all of you all for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I didn't know I was going to have this many people come just to see me. Also, I want to thank my family and friends that are here tonight. And a special thanks goes to the love of my life for the last 32 and a half years for those pictures back there. Curtis Reed, those great big ones of me. He surprised me with those several years ago, and they hang in our home in Rome, Georgia. You know, I'm following in some big footsteps. I've told people all my life, in our family, basketball was not a sport. It was a religion. As he told you, my father, William Poe Biles, was inducted into the Red Boiling Springs Hall of Fame, as well as the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame. My brother, Charles Biles, who wanted to be here tonight, but has shingles, so he's not here, who was my coach in 7 through 12, the one at Red Boiling and the one here. My sister, Mary Alice Morgan, inducted into the one at Red Boiling, and honestly, she should be inducted into the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame. She was a hell of a basketball player, scored way over 1,000 points in high school. Also, tonight, my nephew, Chad Guffey's here, fantastic player for Red Boiling Springs, and his daughter, Morgan Guffey, who is a three-point specialist for Cookville High School. She'll be a junior this year. I'll tell a couple of quick stories and then I'll sit down. When I was in 5th grade, my brother became the girls' basketball coach at Red Boiling. Our dad coached at Willette at that time. Well, whenever I got in 7th grade to play for my brother, he hadn't had very much success against Dad at Willette, a little home cooking. So anyway, our first game of the season, whenever I was in 7th grade, was at Willette. Well, now you have to understand, I was only 11 years old, and I might have, and I do mean might have, weighed 60 pounds soaking wet. But that night, and all of you who've played basketball know what I'm talking about, that goal looked that big. I believe I could have drop kicked one in. Daddy threw everything he had at me. I scored 17 points and we beat Dad. It took him 2 weeks to get over it. And our poor mother, she either cheered for everybody or she cheered for no one. But you know, Charles and I really knew secretly in her heart she was for us. you know, and we think Daddy knew that too. That was part of the problem. And as Tony told you, my freshman year, I played with 5 juniors, the late, great Pat Smith, and I'll tell you, probably one of the best defensive players I've ever seen play the game, Carolyn Blankenship. There were no seniors on the team. Then my sophomore year, they were all seniors. And in 1969, we beat Manchester in the 3rd overtime to go to the state tournament. I hit a layup, got fouled, hit the foul shot, and then in a little bit, Regina Sadler-Cassidy hit 2 more foul shots to put the icing on the cake. And we went to Jackson, Tennessee. Now you have to understand, at that time, some of those girls had never even been to Nashville, much less all the way to West Tennessee to Jackson. At that time, there was no single A, double A, or triple A like there is today. Everybody played everybody. Little Red Boiling Springs went to the state tournament. We got there and it was at the Jackson Coliseum. It was massive. The basketball court looked like it was in the middle of a football field, and the seats went to the heavens, and it was cram-packed with people. They used to laugh and say that if Red Boiling Springs had caught on fire the night we played, there'd have been nobody left to put the fire out because everybody was in Jackson to watch us play. So we're all in there milling around in the breezeway before we go out, and of course everybody looked out. And all at once, Pat Smith grabs me by the arm. She pulls me over. Now, I had just turned 15. Pat was 19. Now, Pat was really shy and backward until you put a basketball in her hand. And then she put her head down, and Katie barred the door. She was going to score. But anyway, she's got me by the arm, and she looks at me, and she goes, "I can't go out there." And I said, "Why?" She says, "Too big, too many people." So I stood there for a minute, and I said, "Come here, Pat." And we looked out, and I said, "Do you see the court?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "You see the goals?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Well, that court is the same size as ours at home, and the goals are the same height. So when you go out there, just remember and think it's at home, but just don't look up." So we went out, and we beat Trezevant, made it to the Elite Eight. As Tony said, we were the first team in Macon County to ever go to a state tournament, and the first one for years that ever won a game. I'll tell one more story and I'll sit down. My junior year, all the seniors had graduated and I was sort of kind of it, and we were playing Lafayette. That's before y'all became Macon County High School. And we were playing in the old gymnasium. And back then, the seats were for the visitors, were right on the sideline. The team that was visiting with the coach sat on the front bleacher. And as always, my sister and mother were sitting 2 seats behind my brother. It was the second quarter, and we were behind. It was one of those nights where nobody could do anything right. I'm not sure if I was in a boat, I could have thrown it in the ocean. So anyway, Jenny Gregory White gets a rebound, brings it down the floor, throws a bullet pass at me, and par for the night, it hit me on the end of these 3 fingers. My whole right hand went numb. Now, I found out the next day it had broken all 3 of them, thank you, Jenny. But I managed to hold on to the ball, pivoted to drive to the goal, and on the second dribble, I bounced it on my toe. It went straight out of bounds, right between Charles's feet. He picked the ball up, stood up, threw it at the referee, and went, "Timeout." Well, we headed to the bench. You could have heard a pin drop because everybody's waiting to see what was getting ready to happen. Well, I knew what was getting ready to happen, okay? Because regardless of who did anything wrong, I always got chewed out. But I had screwed up this time, so I knew I was really going to get it. So you saw our uniforms. We get over there. Charles grabbed me by the collar and pulls me up to his face. And Carolyn will tell you, he always used these 2 fingers right in your face. This time, I get the 2 fingers right in the chest, really hard. What is wrong with you? Our mother, who in all my years had never said anything, goes, Charles William, don't you hit her. Everybody in the gym heard it. Simultaneously, Charles and I jerked our heads around and said, Mother, shut up. But now there's a happy ending to this story. I scored 30-something points. We came back and beat Lafayette. I'm sorry. About 10 years ago, when Charles and I were both still working, he was attendance supervisor for the county, and I was the guidance counselor for all the little ones across the county, and we had to be in juvenile court. So he and I were sitting next to each other in the jury box, waiting for court to start, and this young man, new with the Department of Children's Services, and I don't remember his name, came up and sat down beside me. And in the course of conversation, he found out that Charles had been my basketball coach. So he leans up and he says, Mr. Biles, what kind of player was your sister? Well, Charles just sat there. And I thought, well, as usual, he's not going to say anything. Finally, he said, well, you know, there's several kinds of great players. He said the first kind inherits natural abilities to play the game. They're a natural athlete. And you know, you can't teach quick and you can't teach tall. He said the second kind is the one that works harder than everybody else. They play just as hard in practice as they do in a game. They're the first one to practice, the last one to leave, and they'll do whatever it takes in order to win. He said the third kind is the smart player. They just know more. They understand the game. They see the court like nobody else does. And not only do they know what they're supposed to do, they know what everybody else is supposed to do. And Charles quit talking. Finally, the young man leaned up and he said, well, Mr. Biles, which kind was your sister? And he looked at him and he said, all of them. Now, you have to understand, I was in my 50s. That was the very first time that my brother had ever complimented me for playing basketball in front of me. The family kept me humble. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank the committee. I want you to know I treasure this, I cherish this honor, and I sincerely appreciate it. But all of my life, as long as I've lived and as long as I do live, I will always, always be a Red Boiling Springs Bulldog who wore the red and gray and played for Charles Biles. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jane.
Thank you, Bobby.
BJ? BJ? Had to wake him up.
Larry Broomball is one of this year's Macon County Sports Hall of Fame inductees. Larry played basketball at Macon County High School between 1977 and 1980. During his high school career, he won many awards. Larry was named to the Red Boiling Springs Christmas Tournament All-Tournament Team in 1978, and in 1979 was named the most valuable player of that tournament. He was named the Ball State Conference Tournament Most Valuable Player in 1980. He made the All-District 8AA team in 1980. He was named to the 8AA All-District Tournament team, and he was an All-State Honorable Mention for 1980. After graduating from high school in 1980, Larry continued to play basketball and was part of the 1983 JC State Basketball Championship team. Larry also played for the 1984 State ISA Softball Championship team. These days, Larry calls Lafayette home with his wife Beverly. They are the proud parents of Dyra, who's married to Kara, and their daughter Jayla is Larry and Beverly's granddaughter. Larry Broomball, a 2022 inductee into the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame.
At this time, Coach Gary Carter will come up and introduce Larry Burble.
Which one of these do I?
That one, the one laying down.
All right, I'll try to make this as short as possible. They've already said that it'd be a long deal, but, you know, there's just a few things you gotta say. And it's like Coach White, you know, you can't say it in 2 minutes. First of all, like I said, it's just an honor to be here tonight. I thought last year was really special. Can you hear me from here? I had 3 former players inducted in the Sports Hall of Fame last year, and that was pretty special. But tonight will even be more special. Having a former assistant coach, 3 former players, and 1 former player being my daughter. So it's a very special night for me. It's going to be tough for me to get through it, I think. After all, Larry Burble, wow. Didn't know Larry Burble until he was a little sophomore in high school. And he comes rolling in, wants to play basketball. He's transferred from Hermie Springs. I know Hermie Springs had some good basketball players at that time. But Larry was, as you've seen in the pictures, little small, blonde-headed, blonde-haired, quiet. Larry Burble, that's what he was. Seemed very shy. Never asked why he transferred. Was just glad he was here. You could see that Larry had a lot of basketball talent. But you know, he had the worst looking basketball shot that I've ever seen of any player that I've ever coached. He was a sophomore. He was a sophomore, and it's like, do I change his shot or do I just leave it alone? So I chose to just leave his shot alone. He was too far along. But we call it a funky looking shot. You know, that was about what it was, you know. That would have been the worst mistake that I'd ever made if I'd have changed his shot. Didn't realize at first how much Larry loved the game of basketball. That was the key thing. Larry spent all these summers in the gym. Maybe spent more time in the gym than any player I ever had. In the summer, he'd spend 4 or 5 hours. He'd go up in a day, stay half a day plus, and 5 days a week. That's what he'd do. He'd just go up and shoot and get tired and rest, and just 5 hours would go by. I mean, and made himself a great shooter. So you have to work. You have to work to be a good basketball shooting guard. He made himself a good shooting guard. Larry could score outside. He could score outside with the best. He was a good passer. He had a quick first step. Good penetrator, and with a nice finger roll. And I was reading, Jan sent me a little some kind of little flyer, which I didn't use it, but it was all right, you know. But they was writing about Larry, and it said, Coach Carter, he developed his offense to Larry, and he'd run it, and he'd slide him on one side, and then just let go one-on-one. I thought, Larry wrote this, because nobody else knew this. Because I said he had to write this. But that was it. We had a little old play. We just flip it, and we'd flip it over and start out with Larry on the strong side, and he'd get weak side, and then we just let him go one-on-one. He had that quick first step. Larry had a great understanding of the game. You know, every player, there's a lot of players can play, but they don't have the understanding and what it really takes. He made others better. Boy, when you play with a guy or a girl that makes other players better, that's a basketball player. He was a great competitor. He was a competitor. You wouldn't think it till he got on the floor. He was about like Sean. Sean was kind of like, flow around. He got on the floor and he was an animal. Larry was a quiet animal because he was tough on the basketball floor. He was the first player. You know, that's just you know, this goes back to what, 80, Larry? 80, had him before that, but in my young days of coaching, you know, and as a young coach, you know, you think you're pretty good, but he's the first player I ever had that made me realize you got to have some players to be a good coach. And, you know, so if you don't have a good player, you just can't coach. I mean, it's just simple as that. If you're going to win, you're not. It's not about the coach. It's like a guy told me, there's a guy we went on camp this past week in junior high, and he just beat our brains out. He got a good junior high boys team, and he's really dropped off. And I went up to him, I said, Coach, you ain't good a coach as you was last year. He said, Coach, it ain't about me. It's about the Jimmys and Joes. You know, it's about the players. So that's, you know, as long as you get humble, and that's what makes you win. Larry Burble's team as a group, very special team. And it doesn't matter. Larry wasn't probably the best team I ever coached, but he was one of the most special teams that I ever coached. Because all the players on that team were very special. His team consisted of, and thank the Lord for transfers and West Side Elementary at that time. You know, Larry was a transfer, and I had 3 boys from West Side Elementary, you know, so that means Central or whatever we was called at that time, you know, 1 player. You know, that's not enough players for as big elementary schools we had. And those guys were Bobby Dyer and Gary Kipling, Gillian Hale, and they were just all-around good group. But it's kind of like this was Larry Burble's team. His senior year, it was his team. You know, you got a leader, and it was just kind of like y'all get on my back, and we'll go somewhere. So the confidence I had in Larry Burble was unreal. I had more confidence in him as any player I ever coached. And situation one night we was playing, and Larry he wasn't having his best game, off key just a little bit, and you know, and I don't know whether it was the halftime or whatever. And somebody, had to be one of my friends because nobody else would have said that, and said, well, Coach, I thought maybe you might have took Larry out and kind of let him get his, get settled down just a little bit. And my statement back was, I subbed Larry, we lose. I mean, we couldn't win without Larry. The only way we could win was with Larry Burble on the floor. And my statement was like, hopefully he'll get his game together, because that's the only way we're going to win the ball game. Because sometimes you just don't have a sub to put in. Another situation, this is confidence. This is all about confidence situation. Ball State tournament was playing Goodlettsville. I can remember old games back. Game tied, a few seconds left. Larry gets fouled. He goes to the free throw line. He goes to the free throw line. I'm setting up as head coach. You know, you could get up. And so Larry gets fouled, and we're going to shoot free throw, and he's always made his free throws in those games. So I just get up and kind of stretch a little, and pop my chest out, and turn around to one of my managers. I said, this game's over. Well, Larry missed. Wow. First clutch free throw ever seen him miss. Larry, you remember that one, don't you? Overtime. I mean, you know, some of those deals, but I would have bet a paycheck if I had been a betting man that he'd have made that free throw. I'd have bet anything that he was going to make that. That's how much confidence I had in Larry Burble. Larry Burble comes from a good family that supported him when he was in high school. Larry is as fine, an outstanding young man as I know, and I really respect. With a nice family himself that I really like. I've helped Coach Diver and all this, but Larry's one of the most special players I've ever coached. Larry has been a good friend of mine from high school till now. And Larry Burble's a winner. And now it's a great honor to present to Macon County Sports Hall of Fame members, Larry Burble.
Yeah, don't forget. I'd like to thank Coach Carter and the Hall of Fame and everything. I'm not used to this. Like you said, I'm shy, and I don't talk a whole lot in crowds. So I'll give them a shot anyway. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame for selecting me as part of the 2022 class. This ain't really an individual award, because everybody else did it for me and helped me. Yeah, he's right. I stayed in the gym all the time. But that's what I wanted to do. Basketball has always been a part of my life. Even growing up, my mom and dad always put a basketball out in the field beside the house or whatever. But the basketball goal was always the first thing up every time we moved or done anything. When I first came to Lafayette, the basketball goal went up first. So I'd like to thank them also. And when I was growing up, of course, he said I was at Herndon Springs. And I'd like to thank some of the coaches I had there. Of course, I started when I was in 3rd grade. Connie Delahaye helped coach that team, and then Donnie Cherry helped me up all the way through junior high. And also, you don't have to be a coach or teacher or whatever to make a change in somebody's life. When I was young, Mom and Dad would always work here in Lafayette, and we had a bus driver, Duddy Cross. He would always come by and pick us up all the time. If Mom and Dad was going to be late, he would come by and pick us up. It wasn't his way to Herndon Springs. He could have cut off on 3 different ways to get us there. But he made sure he'd come by and picked us up where we could play ball. And then, which he mentioned, but a lot of people don't know, I was a sophomore in high school before I came to Lafayette. I knew nobody in this school when I came here, and everybody treated me like gold. They welcomed me in. They thought, I think I was part of them, because, you know, they didn't realize that when I walked in Lafayette, I had 120 in my class. There's 120 in the whole high school of Herndon Springs. So, you know, it was a little different. You know, over there you could sort of stroll by through school. I found out over here I could fail. You know, teachers over here would fail you. So for me to play basketball, I guess I had to start studying. So I started studying everything enough where I could pass anyway. And then my sophomore year was the first year up here, and I remember Coach Carter coming out there to me. He said, "Birdwell," he said, "got 1 uniform left." He said, "If you're staying, I'm going to give it to you." So I went home and asked my mom and dad to make sure we were staying. And of course, I come back, I said, "We're staying." He said, "All right, it's yours." So from there, it was awful, because we started practice and we had to go down and do pivots. Well, I didn't know what a pivot was, but Coach Carter said he'd seen me do it in practice. So I guess I done them all right, except for when we was doing practices and everything. Then the second thing we come into was plays. Coach Carter run plays. I never knew you had to run a play before. You know, it was just a part of it. I always thought you had to run out there and grab the ball and take off, you know. You didn't know, but anyway, he showed me how to run plays and stuff like that and everything. So I caught on to it finally, because I finally started playing a little bit in the JV games when I was a sophomore. But the biggest deal when I was a sophomore I can remember is I guess it was going to be the district tournament time. They has the ice all over the secondary roads up here and everything else, just like always. Well, they decided to have the game that Saturday night. Well, my mom and dad was gone, and Coach Carter called me and told me, he said, "Hey, Larry," said, "we decided to play this game tonight." He said, "Can you be up here at the gym at 4 or 5, whatever it was, that we was going to go to Ball State and play a tournament?" And I said, "No, they're gone right now." He goes, "Well, you just get ready and I'll come by and get you." I lived in Green Valley, if the ones don't know that. It's about 20 miles out of Lafayette and probably 10 miles on a dirt road. And sure enough, he showed up, we went to games. He knew I wasn't going to play, but he still come by and got me. And that's when I realized that what part of a team and what it really meant. And I appreciate that. I know you don't know it, but that's when I decided that I was really going to play hard for you. Because you care for me. Then our junior year, like he said, we wasn't the greatest team in the world my junior year, but we was all right. And we only had a couple of seniors, and rest, like you said, the rest of us was juniors and sophomores and stuff. And I think we went like 9-15 that year. Like you said, he didn't have the best players probably in the world, so so we wasn't very good. But after that, he come out. No, it was after my sophomore year. He come out and he told me, he said, Larry, he said, you're not going to ever play for me unless you learn how to shoot a jump shot. So what did I do? When I was in the gym, I started shooting jump shots. Guess what? I knowed I wasn't going to play if I missed every shot too. So I decided I thought I better go back to my set shot, and hopefully he'll think a layup is good enough for a jump shot for him. So that's what we did there. And then went on to my senior year. My senior year was, we tried a couple of people at point guard because I'd played wing. I guess he didn't want to move me off a wing. And then finally he decided he was going to put me up front at the point guard position. And I thought to myself, whoa, 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 whoa. That's where all the pressure's at. You know, I like it over here on my little side court over here. You know, I don't think I want all that pressure on me. But as soon as he stuck me there, I loved it. I could see the whole floor. Of course, he broke everything down for me. If somebody was playing a certain defense, what part of the floor would be open. So it become easy. And just like he said, I had great players with me. They was always in their right spot. I could make a pass without looking because I know that it's going to be there. I didn't have no trouble at all playing point guard with these guys because they was great teammates. And I've learned a lot from him, and I try to tell Dyron to do the same thing. When we was at camps, he always give us different food. Young boys was always eating like crazy. We could always go to the cafeteria and eat breakfast and lunch, but Coach Carter would always go by and buy extra food for us. And another thing he always said, he come and got me. So I made sure I tell Dyron, go get a kid. If he ain't got a way to the gym, go get a kid. You know, if he ain't got a way home, go take him home. And also, you know, if they want in the gym, go to the gym. Take them to the gym. Open up. Now, you know, I had a key. Coach Carter gave me a key, or Debbie did one. I think Debbie got tired of me coming out the house, so he had me a key mate. So anyway, Dyron does the same thing he done. And I was listening to Dyron one day, and he was talking to his players about how I'll take up for you. You know, he said, I'll take up for you. He said, if you're on the floor, if something happens, I'll take up for you. I was listening to him tell him and everything, and he got through and he come over. I said, Dyron, that happened to me once. He said, really? I said, yeah, that happened to me once. I said, we was playing ball down Herman Springs my senior year, and it was a close game and everything, and I hit about 4 or 5 shots in a row. Of course, everybody over there was right on the floor, right up above you, and you could hear everybody hollering. They was all over me, Trader, Benedict Arnold, you know, and I knew who was always doing it because I knew their voices. So what does a coach do? They take all their heat off their players. What does Coach Carter do? Somebody fouled, and I went to the foul line. About the time, I heard everybody in the whole crowd go, T, team up, team up. I thought, I ain't done nothing. What were they talking about? I turn around and look, and there's Coach Carter running out to half court to pick up his shoe he had kicked off. So it took all the heat off of me and put it all on him, and I never did hear another word the rest of that night. But anyway, basketball has always been a part of my life. And my wife, Beverly, for 34 years. Tonight is our anniversary. It's only right for we should be something in sports, because we always do. We've been together. We've been married for 34 years, and she played here in Macon County. So is my son Dyron, his wife Kara. We've all played here at Macon County High. And I'd like to say thank you to everybody. And if y'all want to see me run up and down the floor again, I got a grandbaby now. Then I'm following her down the floor and showing her how to shoot layups. And it's just like I did back when I was a kid. So I want to thank everybody, and it's proud to be a Macon County Tiger. Thank y'all.
Congratulations, Larry.
Eddie Claiborne is one of this year's Macon County Sports Hall of Fame inductees. Eddie most recently served as a member of the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame board. He played men's softball from 1974 until 1982 here in Lafayette. For 12 seasons, from 1982 until 1994, Eddie served as an assistant girls basketball coach at Macon County High School. Between 1995 and 2007, Eddie also served as an assistant baseball coach at MCHS. Eddie helped start a second and third grade basketball learning league around 1990. Eddie was also an assistant junior high basketball coach with his son Wes, who served as the head coach for about 7 years until Eddie retired in 2010. Sadly, Eddie passed away last summer at the age of 71. He leaves behind his wife Winona, their sons Wes and Ori, and 5 grandchildren. Eddie Claiborne, a 2022 inductee into the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame.
And now, Mr. Mike Prott will introduce Eddie Claiborne.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles. I won't have to use this one. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bowles. I believe we all knew and liked Eddie Claiborne. He was always a positive person, seemed to have a good time, and could find or say so many funny things about so many things that came across his mind. There was no doubt when Gary Carter, myself, and Eddie all worked together as coaches here at Macon County High School, Eddie was who added a lot of fun and humor to our group. I'm always amazed at what a very smart guy Eddie was when it came to any of his work assignments. He would gladly take on any assignments and just turn around and give them to Miss Winona and let her take care of it and make sure she did a good job. And I think we all know that Eddie married well. Eddie was very supportive of his children and grandchildren whenever they were involved in any activities. Eddie was always there to watch them and support them. Now I'd just like to take time to some of the list of many sports-related activities, groups, and also boards he served while he was a part of. 1974 to 82, men's softball got started here. Eddie was a big part in starting the men's softball league, and also he coached Tudor's Troops softball team. 1975 to until COVID 2020, Eddie was a spotter for the Macon County High School football press box. 82 to 94, assistant girls basketball coach, and I know he and Coach Carter, they won numerous district tournaments and also region championships and some sub-states, and I think they're in the state tournament about 3 times. 1987-88, Macon County Junior High girls basketball coach. 95 to 2007, assistant boys baseball coach, and also they won some district championships, and I know at least a couple of times they got to the region championship. 2003 to 2010 is a Macon County High School assistant boys basketball coach, served under his son West as head coach, and he served in this position until he retired in 2010. Also, he started the second, third grade basketball learning league And also, at one time, he coached Central Boys basketball, and I think he also coached junior pro, Little League, and T-ball. And Eddie also was a charter member of the Sports Hall of Fame. He was a good friend of mine. We were roommates in college 1 year, and there was 6 of us lived in a house 1 year over there on 310 4th Avenue. I'll never forget that and everything. I know one time we had a bet that who could go the longest without missing a class. And of course, Mike Prock was the first one to miss because the 8 o'clock classes, he never did get up and go. And I think Eddie may have been the second one to miss, and I think he got stuck in the yard there. There was snow on the ground. He was doing his student teaching, I think, at Smyrna, so I'll always remember that one too. And of course, our other roommates were Mike Whittemore, Larry White, Tim Roark, and Mike McClard. But Eddie was, he was just a real good friend, and one thing I could say about him, I know women like to talk on the phone, but he and I, we would at least talk 2 or 3 times a week. If I called Eddie up and say, Eddie, I need about 3 or 4 packs of sausage, he'd go right over to his brother-in-law's, Jeff, and get sausage, and he'd bring them right to my house. And that's a dear friend when he'd pick up things like that and bring it to your house. And as you can see throughout his life, Eddie was very actively involved in various sporting events, and also activities in Lafayette. And there's no doubt Eddie Claiborne deserves to be inducted into the 2022 Macon County Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you, Tony.
I might need it. I don't have a lot of stories to tell. I just want to thank the committee for this honor. Eddie would have never felt like he deserved this, but I know he would be very appreciative of everybody. I want to thank you for all the kind words and the great memories you have shared. He was a lover of all sports. And it's been really interesting. I said I've looked through 40 years worth of stuff to try to come up with all the things that he enjoyed doing. And so I want to just thank you all for this honor in becoming a member of this class.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
BJ?
Holly Carter Flowers is one of this year's Macon County Sports Hall of Fame inductees. Holly played basketball and volleyball at Macon County High School between 1994 and 1997. She was named to the all-tournament basketball team at the Red Boiling Springs Christmas Tournament twice and was named the most valuable player in 1996. She also made the all-tournament team at the Nero White Tournament all 4 years. She made the District NAA all-tournament team all 4 years in high school and was named the MVP in 1997. She was selected to the Region 5AA all-tournament team twice. Holly was named second team All-Mid-State in 1996 and first team All-Mid-State in 1997. Holly was named to the second team All-State team in 1997. She scored 1,270 career points during her MCHS basketball career. Holly was also named to the All-District volleyball team in 1995 and 1996. Holly played collegiate basketball at Rebecca Nazarene University from 1997 until 2001. These days, Holly calls Lafayette home. She's married to Joey Flowers. They are the proud parents of 3 children, Braylon, Brennan, and Isaiah. Holly Carter Bowers, a 2022 inductee to the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame.
And at this time, Coach Gary Carter will introduce Miss Holly Carter Flowers in the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame.
I've already been given instructions to hold the mic in my right hand because I moved my left hand too much. And that was from my family back there of 11 that, we are so competitive. That's the most, you guys, your families may be competitive. We can't play a game of wiffle ball out in the yard or kickball or whatever that our neighbors don't think that somebody's getting hurt. So everybody, because there's got to be a winner, and everybody on that table back there wants to be that winner. So it don't matter what we're playing. It's just mumbly pegs or whatever. But so I do get a little bossed around occasionally. I don't listen to much anymore, but old age gives you an excuse. So I already told you this is going to be a special night for me, and it'll be a pretty tough, sentimental at times. I may have been to one of the toughest, whatever, coaches but tough guy. But I'm a pretty sentimental person down deep. I cry pretty easy for an old man. So it's a very special night for me to introduce my daughter that I love very much. Before Holly was born, I already had Clint. I was wishing for another boy, but thank God I got Holly. I realized very quick that every daddy in this building, if you don't have a daughter, you're going to miss out on something. They're just something so special. I love my son, but a daughter is just something else to a daddy. Holly's very active and maybe a little while, she could dance, flip, cheer at a very young age. She could do just about anything, like her little Holly me back there. They're about the same. They can do it all, or she can. My wife carried Holly to dance and cheering and all this and that all the time, all the way up through. And Dad, being a basketball coach, boy, I really wanted my daughter to play basketball. And so Holly being very competitive at a young age, I'd take her to basketball camp all the way through because I thought, I got to take her to camp. And she loved basketball. I take her to camp every year. And just in case she decided to play basketball, after her 5th grade year, she had to make a decision to play basketball in the 6th grade or boom. And she chose basketball. In the 6th grade, she made the team, played a little. 7th grade, she started getting pretty good. 8th grade, she was a very good 8th grade basketball player that already understood the game. She could pass the ball, seen the floor well. She could just do a lot of things. Holly's freshman year, she ended up starting as a freshman. I had some good players, Alicia Cook, Kim Swindle, Tara Shoulders, and Mitzi Blankenship. 4 good basketball players. But Holly was the best passer I had on the team, and I needed the ball to my post people, and I could control her. So I put Holly in a starting lineup just to pass the basketball to my post people. So she got tested. We went and played like that, and we was pretty good. And one night we went to White House, and so coach over there, he thought, I'm not going to even guard her. It wasn't like Holly couldn't shoot. I just didn't want her to shoot. You know, I didn't want to spread all those shots around somebody else with her when she was taken away from Alicia Cook. You know, shot about 60%. So, you know, give it to her. But they backed off of her, and Holly made 2 or 3 baskets, and that was the end of that. It wasn't like she couldn't shoot the ball. The thing about it is, Holly, we ended up going to the state tournament that year when Holly was a freshman. Had a good basketball team. She played in the state tournament as a freshman. Some of you girls, y'all probably handled it better than she did, because Holly was a freshman. She don't even remember the game, hardly. You know, she was so nervous. It was the biggest stage she'd ever been on, you know, but she was definitely nervous. I tried to make her mad at me. I fussed at her and everything else to try to take her mind away from the nervous, but that didn't work either. Sophomore year, had ever starter back. This was probably the most dismal or dim or season we ever had. Had ever returning player back, all 5 starters. We go to camp, backup post girl, Holly Garrett, ACL. Summer, Kim Swindle was over defeated playing basketball, partial ACL. 6 games into the season, tear her shoulders, ACL. We start the season with 3 people on crutches with ACLs. 6 games remaining in, this is how teams fall out from under you and life falls out from under you, you know, in a sense, but teams fall out from under you. 6 games left in the season. Alicia Cook breaks her hand. Now all I've got left is 2 starters. I went from 5-man offense to a 4 to a 3 to a 2. Finished up the season with a 2. And so I moved Holly to point. That's when she started playing point. Mitzi did shooting guard. And what's so sad about this situation, later into the season, last couple of games of the season, we played Hickman County. They come up here in the gym, we played Hickman County. All I had was Holly and Mitzi and a number 4 and 5 post player and a backup guard. We played them with 2 starters. We got beat by 2 points. What really makes this bad to the point of having to take is state tournament started. Hickman County goes to state tournament, and they win the state tournament that year. So I know we have been pretty close to that. So things fall off from under you, but life goes on. That's just the way you have to do it. So Holly she's a very good player. Her junior year, that's when she really become a really good player. Holly played a lot of AAU basketball, played with a lot of good teams, played against a lot of good teams, and we traveled Washington, Spokane, Washington, AAU. We went to Louisiana. We went to Dallas, Texas, and just played a lot of good competition. We traveled a lot, spent a lot of money, but had a good time. But in the end, it was worth it. You know, Holly ended up getting a full scholarship. Her senior year, she played well. Best all-around point guard I've had. Best one I've ever coached, boy or girl. Sorry, Kelly. She was a coach on the floor. She could see the floor better than any player I ever had, boy or girl. You couldn't press her. Holly'd always find an open girl. She always knew who was going to be open before the girl got open. Never worried about her with the ball. I always looked at everywhere else and made sure everybody was where they were supposed to be. At the end of every game, every quarter, in every game, if we had the ball with 30, 40 seconds, we'd go for 1 shot. It was always a kickback, drop back, step back 3, or a penetrating pull-up jumper, or pull-up dunk, or a kick-out 3. So very fortunate to have somebody like that. Holly's senior year, college started scouting her senior year. And the games I remember in that, and Holly by herself, and had lost the major of her players. We were playing Gordonsville, which we ended up 25-5, but we were playing Gordonsville in the White tournament in the championship game. Gordonsville had played 2 previous games, and they had scored 80 points in each game. And so somebody asked me, like, how are you going to keep them from scoring? And I said, well, they can't press us with Holly on the floor. I mean, it was just like you couldn't press us. So that'll only take 42 points to beat them, okay? So it's going to take away 40 points by the fact that they can't press. This was actually a really important game. Trevecca was in the stands. Trevecca College was in the stands that very night. And you never know how a player is going to react to coaches being in, college coaches being in the gym. That night, Holly had a great game. She had 30 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, broke the press, won a championship, and won a full scholarship to Trevecca Nazarene. So it's a pretty good accomplishment. They were just building a basketball program at Trevecca at the time. Holly just finished 4 years of high school and winning 100-plus ball games. So I give Holly, here she's going to a program that's just starting and developing. So I give Holly this speech. I give her the talk. I said, Holly, you may not win like you did in high school. I said, just remember, you're there to help build a program, so you may have to deal with losing a little. She hadn't been used to losing. Sometimes we all need a little of that. But next year, season starts, and what's so sad is she was winning. I'd lost Holly and 2 or 3 other players, and we were struggling. We were struggling that year. I'd been spoiled with the Alicia Cooks and Kim Swindles and Mitzi Blankenships and Holly Carters and wasn't used to that with all the good players. And we'd lost about 4 or 5 basketball games in a row, and that hadn't happened at Macon County High School in girls basketball when I was there in a long time. I had a hard time dealing with that. So she found out, she talked to her mama. I may get through this, I may not. She talked to her mama, and her mama told her, your daddy's kind of struggling a little bit because he's losing. He'd been spoiled and winning. So she sent me and I'll cry. I've read this 100 times, this letter 100 times, but I'll cry, okay? She's always coloring pictures for me. This girl's 19-year-old at college. She colors me a picture and sends all this in the mail. And with a letter, y'all just have to bear with me. This letter said, her mama told her that I was struggling. She said, Daddy, hey, how you doing? Everything's still good and fine here. I'm good. You remember when I was little and colored your pictures and left them on your pillow all the time? Well, I was just thinking about that and decided to, this picture might brighten your day. I hope so. The other day when I called Mom, she said you were down because y'all were losing. While we were in Arkansas this weekend, I had a team meeting with Devotion. Coach read a scripture. It made me think of you. It said, whenever you face trials of any kind, consider it nothing but joy, because you know that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its full effect, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. So she goes to say, so do not think of losing these games as a downhill battle. Think of them as a learning experience. Good will always prosper in the end. I learned this from you. So take your own advice and do not let this little thing get you down. Well, I hope this letter makes you feel better. I truly enjoyed writing it. I want you to let you know how much you mean to me. I hope this letter did put a smile on your face, because that was the purpose. I hope you have a great day, and I love you. With love from your one and only daughter, Holly Lynette Flowers. That's why every daddy needs a daughter. I did better than I thought I would do. Holly played 4 years at Tobacco. She started almost every game. We traveled and watched her a lot during her career at Tobacco. Holly still holds the NAIA all-time assist record at Tobacco. Holly and Joey have given Debbie and myself 3 grandchildren that are all athletic and going to be good players in several sports that we love and are so proud of. Now it's with great honor to present to the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame my daughter, Holly Carter Flowers. Clay will straighten us out on that one too.
We actually probably should have talked to each other about what we were going to say, because I think he said all the things that I was going to say. But I've wrote lots of stuff, so if I'm reading, I'm sorry. But my kids are very active, and I've been to many baseball games, a lot of basketball games, some dance practices and competitions in the last month. So I've said a lot of things in my head, they just never got down on paper. So this will just be what it is. I look around, and a lot of you, y'all have known me my whole life. And a lot of other you, I've known you your whole life. So there's a big mix, and I know we'll just get through it. The first thing I want to say is I just want to thank you, just everybody, the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame. It's truly an honor to be accepted or to be nominated to be a member of this group. I just thank all my family and friends that's had to deal with all my crazy. I know everybody that's congratulated me, I probably said thank you and walked away, or I said, you know, I don't know what to do, because I don't really like to be in the spotlight most of the time. I just kind of do my own thing, and it is what it is. But Macon County sports in general has been part of me forever. Most people will associate me with Dad and girls basketball, but I feel like I've been involved in many things of Macon County basketball or Macon County sports. I've been to numerous games and practices that I probably didn't belong at, but I was there and probably dribbling a ball and got whistled at and told me to stop because they were trying to practice. I was the flower girl in the football homecoming when I was little. All 3 of my kids have now had the opportunity to do that, so that's just been a blessing or an honor to pass that on to them. Most football games, I was underneath the bleachers doing cheers and turning flips. I thought bonfires were the coolest thing when I was little. Most of the time I was on the top of my dad's shoulders because I had the best seat in the house and I could see everything and see everybody, listen to the cheerleaders and the band. So that's where I enjoyed being. I rode the basketball bus when I was little, and I thought that was really cool, and I thought I was something special. One of the main memories I have of that doesn't happen anymore is when the bus got to the top of the hill and everybody stood up and they started singing the alma mater. Like I knew the words to the alma mater when I was probably 7, because that's something that they all did, and I thought that was special, and thought it was neat to do that as well. Like Dad said, for a few years I thought I was just going to be a cheerleader. I thought I was part of the cheerleading squad on the high school cheerleading squad, because he was coaching basketball and I was standing on the sidelines with all the cheerleaders, and I was rocking my blue culottes and my white polo. And whenever they would go out and do a cheer at halftime, I was flipping down the sideline. So if you've been to any games recently, you've seen my mini-me doing it as well. I tell her that I flipped better than her, but she sure can do other flips and dance better than me. Because I was a coach's kid, I did get to experience a lot of things other people didn't. But because I was the coach's kid, it made it really hard. So there was lots of stuff that come along with that you just have to deal with. A lot of people couldn't accept it. I truly thought it was a blessing. I wouldn't have it any other way. It was really, really special in order to have my dad to be my coach. Starting this basketball season, Granddaddy will have gotten to coach all 5 of his grandkids. And I really think that he thinks that's probably pretty special too. Some of those grandkids have enjoyed it more than others. I do think Zaya is still on the fence of whether she's going to like it or not. But you just have to come to an understanding of, Granddaddy's in charge. Again, like Dad said, we didn't have junior pro, we didn't have pee-wee, we didn't have all these little things, and I didn't play all these little basketball teams. I wasn't on a basketball team until I was in the 6th grade. I was really only going to play basketball that 1 year, though, because I was going to be a cheerleader in 7th grade, because that was when I could try out to be a cheerleader. And then I really thought that maybe I could play basketball during the girls' games and cheer during the boys' games. But none of that ever happened. I started playing basketball, and I never quit until I graduated from college. Like he said as well, like I said, we probably should have coordinated our speeches. Our freshman year of high school, that we had no seniors. We went to the state tournament, and we only got to play that one game. And again, you girls that went, I applaud you like no other, because when I went, it was the biggest gym I'd ever been in my life. We didn't go to camp at MTSU. We went to Shelbyville, which was pretty small, and what's that other one that's Waynesboro, wasn't it? Which is even smaller, Cracker Jack. So at MTSU, you walk up. I'd never played in a gym where there weren't walls behind the goals, and that may not be a big thing, but like all that openness was just crazy for me. And I would hate to see my stats from that game because they were terrible. Because I can remember that I don't think I did anything right. I remember dribbling off my foot. I remember passing it out of bounds. But we went and we were there, but we got that one game and it was over. So my sophomore year, we had the exact same team, but he went through all of that, injury after injury. It just wasn't in the cards for us. It was just, we didn't go back, but I've got those memories of going one time. They might not be real good, but it is what it is. I can say that in high school, I did win a district championship all 4 years that I was there. So I think that was pretty special. I truly enjoyed all my basketball days. I did play volleyball in high school. It was a good break between basketball. I wouldn't say I was, phenomenal at volleyball, but I was decent. But in basketball, I was truly blessed to play with some great athletes. Mitzi Blankenship and Alicia Cook and Kim Hale, Kim Swindle. So I appreciate all of them and all the things that they helped me to become who I was. After high school, I did go to Trevecca Nazarene University, and after just being over there a few minutes ago, some people didn't realize that I went to Trevecca. Keely gets all the glory right now because she is at Trevecca now, but I did go there first. However, I will say too, Trevecca was just starting a basketball program, so I was the second team, women's basketball team at Trevecca. Julie Van Beek was my basketball coach. She coached at Trevecca the very first year. She did not get to recruit any of those players. So I was actually in the very first recruiting class at Trevecca. That first year at Trevecca, we lost more games than I lost my whole high school career. And that was a hard thing to deal with. And I think we lost 9 games in a row at one time, and I didn't even know how to do that. So me trying to encourage Dad, I was probably trying to encourage myself. And I think that verse is what, James 2:5, and that's one of my, or 5:2, it's one of those. But that's one of my life verses, because I go back to that, facing trials, because we always face trials. But the thing about at Trevecca, I did help build a program there. I helped build a foundation because my junior year and my senior year, we went to the NAIA national tournament. Okay, so that was a big deal. So for going from a brand new program to making it to the national tournament was a huge deal. And the record that Dad told that I have at Trevecca, sorry, but you can't break it because it's an NAIA record. So they're not NAIA anymore, so it's all mine forever. I have had a lot of success over the years. I've learned many lessons, had many memories, but most of the records have been forgotten, in all honesty. I'm not a look at me and I did this and all my successes. All those trophies and accolades are nice, and they were an honor to get. But right now, my family is what's most important to me. I love watching my kids succeed and overcome any obstacles that they have. I'm their biggest cheerleader. My parents were my biggest cheerleaders and my biggest fans, and I hope someday that they can say that I'm my kids' biggest cheerleaders and biggest fans. In all of this, I just want to thank God for giving me the athletic ability to accomplish all these successes, guide me through all the trials that come along with it. I just want to say thank you to everybody in the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame Committee for considering me for this award. Thanks to my dad for coaching me all the way along the way, and my friends and family and teammates. It's a true honor.
Donnie Wills is one of this year's Macon County Sports Hall of Fame inductees. Donnie played baseball, basketball, and football at Macon County High School from 1979 until 1982. Donnie was named to the all-tournament basketball team at the Red Woodland Spring Christmas Tournament in 1981 and to the All-State all-tournament team in 1982. Donnie also loved playing football for the Tigers. He was named to the Mid-State Honorable Mention Team in 1980. He was a football captain in 1981. Donnie also played college basketball at Ball State in Gallatin from 1982 until 1984. Sadly, Donnie passed away last May at the age of 57. He leaves behind his wife Kathy, son Blake, and daughter Riley. Donnie Wills, a 2022 inductee into the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame.
And now Coach Matt Eldridge will introduce Donnie into the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame.
Guys, it's an honor to get to be here and talk about Donnie Wills. And many of you know him. And if you don't, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. Now, Donnie was a friend of mine, one of my best friends. I was in his wedding, he was in mine. I moved up, and this is how I really met Donnie. I played against Donnie in high school at Livingston Academy. We played him in football and played him in basketball. You don't really get to know somebody that way. But I moved up in 1986. I was hired to be an assistant football coach here. And Coach Carter, Coach Fitzpatrick, Mike Prock, and them all took care of me. I didn't know anything at that point, but they took care of me. But I moved up, and on certain nights of the week, me fresh 22 out of college, Coach Carter and Coach Prock would often open the gym and let kids come in and play, some of their players, and they'd let some of us younger ones, they said, you ought to come up and play. Well, Donnie was there. Several of the older players, and I was fortunate up here. I got to play with some good athletes, Larry Birdwell, Tim Doss, Donnie Wills, Rick Shoulders, several like that. But I go in that night, and we're playing, boy, instantly hit it off with Donnie. Donnie played hard as he could. Now, all you athletes in here, that's the only way you know to play. You play hard as you can. But Donnie's playing pickup basketball. It might as well have been college basketball, but that's how you're supposed to play. That's why I liked him. But played to win. It wouldn't matter if I'd have played him in ping pong, basketball, football. He's going to play to win. So you all understand that. The thing I noticed about him that first night we played basketball was his shoes. Now, y'all may remember this or not, but when he was at Vol State, and Donnie was a good college athlete, started for Vol State. He came back and he had shoes, he had red and white shoes on. And had his name on the back. Not Donnie, not Wills, Cool. And if y'all don't know his name, Cool. That's where everybody knows him, is Cool, Cool Daddy, right? Y'all have heard that. If you hadn't, that was his name. Everybody knew him. So we're hanging out, and, you know, often some of the guys might come over and hang out at my apartment. So one night I just said, Donnie, not that you're not cool. Why Cool? I didn't know why they named him Cool. He said, I'll tell a story. So this is the story he told me from his lips to me to you. So here's how he got named Cool. He was either incoming freshman or freshman going, maybe freshman going into sophomore. I can't remember that part. But he said he was playing for Coach Gary Carter. And they had a scrimmage going on. And they're scrimmaging the team. There's a loose ball. They're pressing, like Coach Carter and them like do. They're pressing, putting pressure in the backcourt. And there's a ball loose. Well, you know if the ball's loose, Donnie's going on the ground after it. So Donnie's on the ground after it. And he comes up with it. He thinks he's right under the goal. He thinks the goal's just right here. So he's planning on turning around, just scooping it up and in. Well, he said, boy, and he called me, I turned around, I'm at the free throw line. And I'd already started my shot. And I'm finger rolling it. And he said, so I come off some big finger roll from the free throw line trying to shoot it in. And Coach Carter stands up and said, why don't you just shoot the shot instead of trying to be some cool daddy in front of everybody? Since Cool Daddy stuck. That's where it came from. But Cool was cool. He was cool. Rightful name. Now, let me tell you about his personality. He was about winning no matter what you did. But he did it in the right way. Great teammate. Now, I didn't get to play high school ball with him, but I'm going to tell you a couple stories about Donnie. He'd do things, and I was at the celebration of life of Donnie's, and I had the opportunity to speak. I couldn't get anything out that night, so I'm glad to get to say something tonight, and I'm thankful to his family for allowing me to. But anyway, he wanted to win whatever he was playing, just like all you athletes do too. But anyway, we're playing ball, and like I said, I got to play. I was fortunate, got to hang around the guys up here: Larry Birdwell, Donnie Wills, Vic Donahoe, Keith Tillman, Tim Doss, Rick Shoulders, many others. But anyway, so we're playing in some tournament. We're playing, we're 22, 23 years old, all of us, and we're playing some league tournament. And we come out, and I think the first 5 trips down the floor, they back off, and Donnie's hit 4 threes. So we're up 12 or 15 to 2. They call a quick timeout. So we all walk back over, and we're all coming in thinking, hey, it's going pretty good. We're killing them. Donnie's hit 4 threes, and he comes over, and he looks at us. He said, y'all better pick this up. You better pick it up. And I look, he said, I can't do this. My back is killing me. It's killing me. And I said, I didn't know you got it hurt. He said, I'm having to carry every one of you. You better pick it up. And then he'll go, hey, 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 and jog out on the floor. So if y'all know Donnie, that's his personality. So anyway, that's his personality. But and I know several have talked about this, but he's the type of this. He's a friend. A real friend is who makes you better. And that's what he did. He made it right better. Now, another thing about Donnie, you're out there playing and stuff not going right. Here he is. I think I'd heard Blake say this at funeral. Donnie be this way, something not going right. What's wrong? What's wrong? Ain't hitting. That's all right, baby. Get in my hip pocket. I'll carry you. I'll make it all right. I'll carry you until you get better. But that's how he did. He was a positive toward his friends. And I'll say this, Kathy, Briley, Blake, Terry, and Tammy, I'm so thankful you've let me get up and say something about him. Because he's my best friend. And besides, and you know, Donnie thrived on competition. Thrived on it. He, and I say besides the Lord, his family, I think Donnie loved competition next. He loved it next. But anyway, everybody's going to remember Donnie's a great athlete, and they should. But I'll say this, I'll remember him as this. Donnie remembers a great athlete, but I always remember him as his love for the Lord, his love for his family, and being a positive influence on others. We'll sing again. Coach Fitz is going to come up. He's a high school football coach. Say a couple of things about him. Thank y'all so much for letting me talk.
I can hear y'all right now saying, "Oh, here's Fitzpatrick. We're going to be." Don't even look at your watch, Jan Austin. Listen, y'all. I had the privilege of coaching Donnie in high school football. He was my quarterback, defensive back, and I could dwell on that for a day, but. The family, I think, will verify this, and Donnie's been dead over a year now, and I went to this funeral with my wife, and the preacher gave a great sermon or a great talk about Donnie. He said, we took that old redneck, Kathy, tell me if I'm wrong, took that old redneck from Macon County, brought him over here, gave him a little culture, got him some good learning, and I'm sitting there thinking, and he did a good job. So at the end of it, as they usually do, they said, would anybody like to say anything? Well, I'm just kind of looking around, waiting for just one person to raise their hand. So this guy over here raises his hand, and Faye, my wife, puts her hand on my leg and says, don't you dare raise your hand. Well, you know, I've been married 48 years. Am I going to listen to my wife? No, come on. So anyway, I raised my hand, and I get up and I said, y'all, let me tell you about that redneck from Macon County. I said, he was a senior in high school. Tell me if I'm lying, Tammy or Terry. He was a senior in high school. We were playing White House. It was 4th and goal from the 3-yard line, and we were down by 4 points. Couldn't kick a field goal to win the game. And I called timeout, and I called Donnie over, and I said, Donnie, they think we're going to give it, I think Phil Branchard was my fullback at the time. They think we're going to give it to Phil, and we're going to go there. Can you throw the screen pass to our back in the end zone? He said, yeah, coach. So we run the play, throw the screen, we beat White House. And I'm telling all these people this, you know, that old redneck from Macon County showed y'all, didn't he? Well, after the funeral service was over, a man from White House came over and said, Coach, I was at that football game. I remember that. Well, it never did happen. It was against Greenbrier. But he kind of irritated me when he said, we took that old redneck from Macon County, so I changed the scenario from us throwing a screen pass against Greenbrier to White House. And they still talk about it to this day. But listen, y'all, great person, Donnie Wills. I had the fortune of coaching him. God bless each and every one of you. Inductees, it's been a great night. I hope you enjoyed. God bless everybody, and thank you for all y'all for coming. Thank you. Matt Eldridge will present the plaque. Then take one,
I'm going to accept this on behalf of Donnie's family, present it to him in a moment. But I'm going to do this. I want to thank you how much, and they humbly thank you and appreciate Donnie being voted in. And I'm going to accept this as Donnie Wills would. Now, this is Donnie Wills. He'd accept it humbly and he'd walk off. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you all so much.
Matt, these your glasses?
Yes, they are. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let's give another round of applause to all tonight's inductees. I don't know about you all, but I feel like tonight it's been very enjoyable to me to hear all these stories and relive and learn about people, things you didn't know. And that's what this whole Sports Hall of Fame is about, to honor those that have given to Macon County and give back to them. And we appreciate every one of you being here tonight. We would like to invite you back next year. It's always the first weekend in June. We will send out notifications to those that are in the Hall of Fame members, those of you that are inducted tonight. We would like to see you back next year, and when we will induct a whole new class into the Macon County Sports Hall of Fame. At this time, if anyone doesn't have anything else to say, Coach Fitz, be still. We will just wish every one of you safe travels back home. And now it's time for pictures and socializing and reminiscing. So everyone have a good night and thank you.